Deep in the lush greenery of the Colorado woods stands one of the most haunted homes in the state. When a family moved into the home in 1991, their dream home quickly became their worst nightmare. Today, we dive further into our theme with Week 3 of Unsettling Forest Mysteries as we take a look into the Black Forest haunting. This is Red Web. Welcome back, Task Force, to week number 3 of our eerie, spooky, this time haunted Forest Mysteries. I'm your host, Trevor Collins, and with me, bringing that gut instinct and all those juicy questions, Alfredo Diaz.
So is this a house like in the middle of the forest?
This is a house in the middle of the Black Forest of Colorado. Not Germany, don't get it twisted. There's a lot of spooky forests out there, but what do you...
Alfredo physically recoiled.
He did.
When you
I
said
mean,
yes.
we had to bring him back to the mic.
I mean,
Go ahead, let
Come
it
on.
out. Air it
Okay.
out.
It's a house
Mm-hmm.
in the middle of the forest.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Trope.
issue number 1.
Yeah.
Issue number 2, it's called the Black Forest. Come on, man. you're literally placing yourself in a horror movie.
Right. It does sound very much
Yeah.
like the center, like Hush.
Right. And then you tell me
Uh-huh.
that this place is gonna be I don't know, creepy stuff's gonna happen.
Definitely.
Well.
This
I'm the neighbor that's like 5 miles down where it's
Uh-huh.
nice and like
Yeah.
suburban. And I told you so.
he hears a
I
pane of
told
glass
you
shatter. The camera
so.
twists back, and he's already 5 miles down the road going. I mean, here's the thing. We've done many, I should say, hauntings,
Yeah.
ghost stories. This one is wild. I'm so excited that we're covering this one. I don't want you to, Forest Month. The thing about Forest Month is I want to take something as,
Okay.
it's just a couple of trees.
Way
What
to
could be
preface it.
spooky about that? And then
Mhm.
really just twist your vision of it. Because this is a really creepy paranormal situation that this family went through. And it reminds me of like Insidious or whatever.
Oh, that's a good movie.
Just like where there's a lot of activity
I might
around a
watch
lot
that
of
tonight.
things.
I don't know. Like there's something so unsettling about just like a house gone wrong in that way.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Being off on your own, just
Yeah.
out in the middle of nowhere, really.
Yeah, like if it was someone that was a murderer or something like that, it's unfortunate. It's more real. It's more
Oh, yeah.
visceral.
Oh, yeah.
But I feel like if someone came to my house, I would at least, like, I'd be terrified, but I at least would have ways to try and approach it. If there's some creepy ghost or, spiritual thing going on, what the hell do you do?
How do you fight that?
What? Like, I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know where to begin.
And it isn't
the
just
house?
one either. Oh, no.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's dive in. Let's talk about this area first and foremost. This is the Black Forest. It's an unincorporated area in the northeast of Colorado Springs. When an area is unincorporated, it essentially means that it's not run by a local municipal corporation or anything like that. It's not a town. It's not a city. It's just place. It's just land. As of 2020, the population of this area was 13,103. Black Forest got its name because of the abundant presence of ponderosa pine trees, and the community was settled back in the mid-1800s. Thanks to its luscious environment, it then provided countless jobs, which is what kept this area a-goin'. Lumberjacks out the wazoo, billions of feet of lumber coming from this area. So that's the kind of quick and easy history of why this area is populated, but yet why it's still unincorporated. So let's talk about Steve and Beth Lee, the homeowners at the center of this very eerie situation. So in 1991, Steve and Beth Lee bought a log cabin house in Black Forest deep in the woods. I mean, we're talking isolated. This house was on a 5-acre plot of land, so it was peaceful, quiet, and they moved there with their 2 sons. Not long after moving into their dream home, they began to encounter a lot of odd occurrences, many of which felt akin to paranormal activity. So immediately I'm coloring in the lines that you were drawing, which is, we're in the middle of nowhere. You're far from a lot of stuff. You're on private land. Not a lot of people to reach out and help.
I mean, like,
Quickly, anyway.
you could be terrified in a number of ways when it comes to like opening, closing of doors, creaking, maybe hearing footsteps, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing. that's different from a lot of the different like haunts or whatever that we've done. You look outside your window, it's darkness.
Right.
It's trees for miles and miles and
No
miles.
city lights, no street lights.
There isn't even
just you.
There isn't even the comfort of like, I'm gonna run next door and knock on my neighbor's door.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have that comfort.
No.
Such a bad situation.
I mean, that's trope number one of the horror film genre,
God,
right?
so
like
bad.
when you are in a house that's far removed, you know things are about to pop off.
Yeah.
So when it came to these occurrences and this paranormal activity, what I mean is like they started hearing things and not your normal. I mean, yes, they did hear footsteps, but they heard beyond that. They were hearing the clattering of chains. In fact, they were hearing orchestra music. They started smelling things. There was a chemical-like odor around their house that when smelled often burned their eyes and throats as they breathed it. They weren't able to find the source of this chemical smell, but it was very prevalent and it happened quite often.
I'm hoping they like had someone, a third
Yes.
party come out
Right.
and test burning their eyes and throat
Right.
for science.
Well, I'll go ahead and jump to the chase. Many people come out to investigate this property,
Oh.
and many of them find similar instances without being aware of one another's kind of results. I'm telling you, this
man.
I'm so in love with this particular
Just-
story because it's wild.
I hope to God in the theory a scientist was like, well, it's these two chemicals. Well, when a wombat rubs a grass.
When a wombat during the month of September finds a
I'm hoping
blade of grass.
I'm just hoping it's something like that.
Yeah. Oh, well, hopefully there's a wombat for you here, bud. So in addition to all that, they also saw numerous streaking and flashing lights appearing in the depths of the trees. Right?
Well, see now like
This man just deflated in front of me.
well, because you're painting this picture where
Yes.
I'm like, okay, and
Uh-huh.
in my head, I'm like safety outside of the house, and you just took that away
Yep.
from me.
Yeah, you're not
'Cause-
safe in, you are not safe out.
Because it's happening around the vicinity.
Oh, yeah, this is some real Evil
now in
Dead
my
stuff.
head, it's a land-based thing.
Yeah.
And good luck trying to find out where the haunt, the line is drawn between
Right.
the haunt and the non-haunt.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, the line for me is 3 states over.
Yeah.
I'm out.
I was like, get out the house.
Yeah.
Nope, never mind. Still in the trees. Okay.
So this to me, just to continue dropping like references, this is real like Roanoke stuff from American Horror Story.
That was
Yeah.
the season.
So anyway, seeing these lights out in the woods, also the lights in the house, the appliances such as the TV, were going on and off on their own around the home. So now we're having some power issues. Some of these things can be explained by the normal, right? Fluctuating power, what have you. But
Yeah,
all these
you're
combined,
Way out.
yeah, all of these combined makes a really interesting, if not unsettling, set of events. But in a book called Haunted Places, the National Directory, there's a quote from Beth Lee describing these paranormal light shows, as she refers to them, that were present in the home. She says this, quote, "One day we came home and it was like 4th of July in our living room and bedroom. We had all kinds of lights flashing through and it sounded like people stomping across the roof. We lay in bed at night and hear chains rattling. One night we woke up and heard orchestra music. Strange things started happening every day. Nothing about the sights and sounds the Lees were experiencing were comfortable, as you can imagine. So they figured buying an advanced security system might make them feel a little bit more at ease because maybe they can figure out what's going on, capture some of this.
Yep.
So they get that in place, and the alarm system was set off multiple times with no identifiable activity or point of origin, no reason for it to go off. So you can say maybe it was part of the electrical mishaps. Now, the sheriff's department speculated that the strange activity may have been coming from intruders simply trying to scare these new homeowners and get them out of town, or out of unincorporated territory. But you tell me, okay, because the family counted over the course of 4 years in this home, they had a total of 62 unexplained break-ins during those 4 years. That's more than one a month.
That's crazy.
That averages 1 to 2 times a month for 4 years
If
straight.
that's people trying to scare them out of the house, that's commitment.
Get a hobby outside of this.
Jesus Christ.
So yeah,
Come on, man. What the hell's wrong with you? Like, what the hell's wrong with this family? You got kids and you're just like, I don't know, duking it out for 4 years?
I love that that's the detail. I was waiting for it. That's the detail he latches onto, which is you're putting up with this for 4 years?
4 years,
That's
man.
a very good point.
4 years? Are you kidding me?
If If it doesn't get worse, do you just kind of deal with it? If it's not hurting anybody, do you just kind of go, huh?
I mean, like, at what point? Okay, at what point, time frame wise,
First sighting.
you're hearing chains down the hall.
Yeah.
Do you feel comfortable enough to just, while that's happening, go out and get some water?
Man, I really gotta pee, but the chains are heavy tonight.
Right. I'm just like,
They're slanging and banging on that roof.
there is no point where I'm like,
Yeah.
I'll just roll with it. You know what I mean?
even last night I went down to get some water, and I'm like,
You still kind of bolted up a little bit.
I'm still kind of like, maybe I don't want water tonight, you know? Maybe I'll get the tap. And that's just a regular old place.
Yeah.
With the lights off, that's it.
That's so many occurrences.
Yeah.
I mean, like, good on them for like buying security stuff. And
Absolutely.
Camera. I would have bought every single camera. I would have bought the.
And we got some tangible evidence
the
for you
Nest,
coming.
whatever Alexa thing. I would have bought a pet cube or something like that. Like, just I would have rigged everything.
Right. Bunch of bells on strings for me.
Yeah. Oh, God.
You can't mess with the electricity of my bells.
Also,
You hear a bling, ling, 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 and you're like, great, they're here.
Here come the lights. A little weird, but a little weird and like comical though. And I don't know. I will say, still terrifying, but more like I feel like I might have a little chuckle hearing the chains and like music.
Yeah.
Yeah, instead of just like, I mean, they still got the footsteps,
Right.
Maybe creaking or like moaning or anything.
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
Just hearing like, I don't know, like a band. Like, what you
Dang,
playing
you have a
music
band
for?
practice up there, Fiddler on the
Like,
Roof?
what
What's
do you-
going
what
on?
do you- like, what happened here?
Yeah. You know what? That's a really interesting point. So the chains are one thing. That's real old school ghost action. But orchestra music, I would be
Right.
very curious if they could identify what that was and if there's any significance to that. You know what I mean?
This?
Like if this is like Bach's
1991?
Fifth Symphony. This was 91 when this started.
Damn, no Shazam.
Yeah, no Shazam.
I mean, come on. It would have worked. Probably. You know what I mean?
Can you imagine?
Dude, I mean, look, I think that's where we're at right now, right?
Hmm?
We're like older, you know, like the old guard haunters versus like technology, and it's kind of crossing, right? Like if you're gonna play music, guess what? We have technology to see what it might be. You might Shazam it. You might
Yeah.
catch you on camera.
Yeah, use a little bit of Soundhound, capture what that music is, figure it
Yeah.
out, you know.
Yeah, more like newer age people are gonna pass away and be like, I know what this like technology is. You know, and we talked about it
Yeah.
before. Probably might mess around with like this, like the internet, more internet based.
Oh
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I
Which would
think
be interesting.
yeah, in a direct way. I mean, obviously, like you can't compare apples and oranges, but in a way, like one of the things that I think about when we do this show is we do internet mysteries, but we also investigate via the internet. I almost think that the internet is an extension of investigatory tools. We had fingerprints for a long, long time. Then there's the advent of DNA and having DNA registers or whatever they're called, where you can analyze people's DNA at the crime scene and whatnot and make some connections. Now, I think the internet is just the next tool. Where it connects a lot of dots and it allows us to more easily pull that web together and at least draw conclusions or debunk stuff.
And instead of like writings on the wall, it'd be writings on your laptop.
Mm-hmm. A little scrying action. So this went down for 4 years. Again, 62 unexplained break-ins. So the sheriff's department opens an investigation in 93, and they conducted 45 follow-ups, but never found any criminal ongoings. Pretty much everything that's going down is yet to be explained.
First off, I guess 2 years? It took them 2 years to take them seriously?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, when a family comes to you and they're telling you they got dancing lights happening around their rooms and their lights are flickering, you might be like, I don't even know where to start. But maybe it's just local pranks. And then once it's shown that it has staying power, they might go, I guess, like, let's get in there. I you know, this family keeps coming back.
True.
At this point, that's some criminal pranking.
The first half is like, wow, it took a couple years to take them seriously. Second half of it is like, good on you. You came back 45 times.
Right.
Like, okay, you kind
You might
of
have said no for a while, but now you're in.
But now you're like committed. So I'm kind of interested to see, like, aside from like smells, if like they were committed because the family just kept showing up and it became like routine,
or if they saw something,
or if they saw stuff.
Yeah. That I think that adds some weight to at least something happening.
Yep.
So, of course, with all of this said, Beth believed very strongly that these strange occurrences around their house were of paranormal nature. Steve, on the other hand, insisted that the house was not ridden with paranormal activity and that it must have been people trying to scare them out of their home, kind of going back to the original idea. Steve then hired private investigators who set up yet even more cameras and motion detectors around the house. Love where this is going, by the way.
Wow.
Love that they're really thoroughly investigating
Can
this.
I ask this question?
Go for it.
Is the family a family of color?
I tried to look and find, and we tried to get more info, but there's not really a lot available. We don't really know for sure.
Essentially, we can find pictures of everybody around this investigation,
Yeah.
but not of the family, or at least from a valid enough source that we can confirm that it's the family. So
Exactly.
Interesting.
it's
So we don't know.
uncertain.
91? You think that'd be like easy?
Well, do you think they might have wanted that scrubbed for privacy or just for their experience getting?
Oh, I'm sure
past it?
they wanted that. But
Yeah.
I feel like 91, there was, media and technology was advanced enough to not really be able to dodge that.
The 90s were that awkward period where everything tried to go to VHS.
Yeah.
And so everything
Yeah.
got bad again before it got good again.
Yeah, that's true.
But
Interesting. Okay.
yeah.
I was just curious.
So kind of coming back to it, right? Steve hired those private investigators. They set up motion detectors and cameras around the house to really get that coverage. Now, these cameras caught glimpses of strange orbs of light streaking across the room, validating essentially what the family was seeing. Sometimes they would form faces in the mirror. In the
Oh.
end, Steve captured over 3,000 pictures and countless hours of video showing evidence of paranormal activity. And Steve, the one who was doubting this all from the beginning, Steve sent the pictures to Fate magazine, who published them in November of 1994. We have some of those photos for you to react to here. And for the task force at home, we're also going to post these visuals on our YouTube page and on Twitter. All of those have the same handle, Red Web Pod. So go check those out. Fredo, what are you seeing?
I mean, when you told me about all of this, I went, how have we not either debunked this
Mm-hmm.
or, especially like nowadays, you have people like Porter Digital that like look at
Right.
like famous
UFO
like haunted
videos or
videos, and they're
yeah.
like, oh, this is visual effects, you can tell by that little thing, or there's like smoothing there, or they rotoscope this, etc. Yeah, I mean, like I was like, how is this not either like, oh my god, there are super proof
Yeah.
or not? But it looks like 2 photos and you splashed water on them and it dried up.
Yeah. Like the little
Yeah.
watermarks in the lens or
Yeah,
something.
it looks like heavy watermarks on like honestly like 70% of the bottom one. And
Yeah.
up top just splashes of water too.
And then there's 2 on the backside for you there as well.
Dang.
One of them being circled with the potential
Oh,
Oh, you see it?
hell no. Oh, I didn't see it, and I saw it was circled, and I threw my face in it. Okay.
Yeah, you really dove
That
in.
was a reaction.
Okay.
I was like trying to like soften the blow. And I was like, yeah, people say they see a face, and he saw it.
Okay. I'm gonna just
He's
I'm gonna-
folding the paper so you
fold
can't see it.
Fold this a little bit. So yeah, that's streaks of light in front of a mirror.
Mm-hmm. And we'll talk more about that face in the mirror, and hopefully, at least for your comfort, maybe debunk it or maybe not. There's some room to try.
Oh my god. Oh, it looks like multiple faces.
He's getting deeper in there. He's looking closer.
It looks like there's 2 faces.
Dang, Two-Face. Batman's on the scene.
Dude, they got white eyes. They're kind of like
Kind of like a doll's eyes.
Oh my god. How do you I'm like, honestly, this is fake or not. It is fake or digital. These are terrifying faces.
Right.
Like they're just detailed enough with the white of the eyes
Yeah.
for it to be terrifying. Hell no, man. You get the hell out of there. I don't wonder if it's real and it's not just a hoax and you're trying to make money off of it. What? I was like, what the are you doing there? Mark it down, Christian.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah,
Like,
those
what
some-
are you? Those are faces
Those
in the
are-
mirror.
Those are some wild faces. That's like Frodo into the wet marshes and
It
those
is.
ghosts come up.
It is.
That's that right there. Mouths agape, kind of looking at you too. The streaks of light, I can see that from the blurry outline or the double edge outline of that mirror, that it's a long shutter. So you know, if some light were to enter, obviously if you wanted to capture a streak, you'd have a long shutter, but there's a point light here and it was exposed over the course of one long shutter. So yeah, it's something.
Yeah, at first I'd be like,
It's
why do
something
you
there.
conveniently have a camera placed? But if you're seeing streaks, right? Say you have it pointed towards that part of the room, you're seeing streaks.
Mhm.
The next thought would be, all right, let's point at the mirror, see if anything pops up.
Yeah.
Oh my God, dude.
The
Two
other
faces
things,
like that.
the other things that are a little harder to see or easier to gloss over are in the first two. There's a lot of smoky. I don't know what that smoke's coming from. If that was just it being cold outside, and so that's like exhaust from a laundry
Could be,
room or something,
yeah.
you know. But there's orbs in there, natural or otherwise. There's orbs in there. Some of the smokiness on the inside. There's like a really dark shadow as compared to
Oh,
this
yeah.
whiter kind of fog. But
Yeah.
the same thing happens over here where they're to the right of the mirror where the light streak is. It seems like there's like a shadow without an origin. It's like just light enough to look like a shadow, but not be a shadow. And if you look closely, it almost, just like right here, it almost looks like hair or strands of something.
Oh, it does.
Oh, I hadn't even noticed that.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's like, it's one of those photos that, you know, are you looking for something? Or is it the longer you look, the more you'll see? Because it's hard to say.
There's definitely a contrast. It's like a white wall with maybe like a wood top.
Yeah. It's lighter than the other shadows,
and
but dark enough to be
There's
seen.
definitely a contrast with like streaks of like black or just faint dark, like maybe like a gray or
Mhm.
faint black. Definitely there. I mean, it kind of looks like there's a head right here.
Yeah, I mean, that's close enough to that shadow too. But
Dude,
if they were
those-
sophisticated enough, I would say that if with a long shutter, you know, people use their phones now, but if you had a point light or just some sort of source of light and you whipped it around in front of the camera, it would create that light shadowing as well as creating a light streak. But I'm not seeing any light shadowing around the light streak to indicate that something was, I don't know, man. Anyway, dissecting the pictures. I'll leave them there for you, Task Force, to analyze when you're interested. However, moving on, after his cameras captured hundreds, if not thousands of images, paranormal beings in the house, things of that nature, Steve was finally convinced that his house was haunted. Looking for answers, the Lees reached out to the TV show Sightings and asked if they would come to the house and take a look at everything that was going on. The Sightings crew, along with paranormal investigator and psychic Echo Bodine, visited the Lee household to investigate the paranormal reports. During their investigation, Bodine detected over 20 spirits present in the home, all led by a male presence who claimed to be the one that owned the home. So this is one of the first times outside of the realms of a movie where I'm hearing that there is one center spirit commanding essentially a horde of other spirits.
Why go to a TV show?
It's a good question. I think going to the show might have been because they had an expert on the show, like a psychic.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're after mostly that psychic. You're also seeing their public resume. But otherwise, like, who else do you go to? Like, do you Google up, before the internet, like, do you pull up a phone book and try to find a paranormal group? Like, it's either that these are the leading experts and thus they have a TV show, or there's a TV show, so they're just the most publicly available.
Oh, that's true.
You know what I mean? Like,
What? When was the internet readily available? Like late 90s? No,
late 90s, yeah.
Late 90s?
During the dot-com bubble going into the 2000s.
Yeah.
So
I
like, you had
guess
AOL
that you
dial-up, late
reach out.
90s.
Yeah, like, how do you really go to a phone book? You know what I mean? You just go, I guess this one. But like, yeah, if you have,
You're right to
quote,
ask the
unquote,
question.
professionals on a TV show.
Yeah. Regardless of the true nature of the answer, you're right to ask that question.
Which I guess they say it anonymous on the TV show.
Yeah, if they went on the TV show, why can't we find them?
I was watching footage of the show to try to see, and I can see the people that we're about to reference in regards to the TV show, as well as footage of like the host, but I'm not seeing anything where it's definitively stating these are the leads.
Maybe they just wanted to be private.
That's
so
totally
let's
fine.
earmark that, right?
Yeah.
Why ask a TV show? Are you looking for a story? We'll talk about that in the theories. But 2, why scrub your identity from the internet or from records or not want to appear in TV? Because that's counter to that, right?
Yeah,
So is it that they want
exactly.
attention, or is it that it's authentic and they just want answers?
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
so
juicy.
we'll pin that for later. So yeah, 20 spirits in the home, all led by some sort of male presence who's claiming to own the home. And while in the Lee's house, They said they saw strange shadows, orbs, a camera was knocked off its tripod, and they heard thumping noises throughout the house, not even in just one spot. The crew also used a thermal spectrograph to test for paranormal hotspots within the home where the spirits were more saturated, right? It is said that when a ghost is haunting a place, that they draw energy from the air, which saps it of its temperature. Temperature is just energy. And so it creates cold spots. And so they're using the thermal to see if there's any sort of like, bad word, but hot spots or,
Yeah.
hotbeds of activity because they're cold.
That's how that functioned. That's interesting.
Yeah. It's also why they say that batteries get drained very quickly. Yeah. Or
Cold.
like power flickers because they're drawing on that. So they're looking for hot spots as in popular spots, but those spots are cold. Bodine actually found one of the hot spots to be on the roof, just like the stories of the chains and orchestra and whatnot. But also in the upstairs bedroom, she said it was full of spirits and should not be used as a place of resting. The strangest of all the occurrences during the filming was when Beth began to describe a feeling that someone or something cold was holding her down, making it hard for her to breathe. Simultaneously, as that was happening, a member of the camera crew named Sherry felt, quote, something go into her, and she felt her chest, her arms, and her legs became very numb. Sherry crouched down in the corner and started breaking down into tears, and in a panic, she began following Bodine's instructions to say the words, clear me, in order to, saying that out loud in order to exorcise herself of any spirits that might be inhabiting her body and hoping that they would leave.
Oh, that seems like TV show stuff.
It does seem like TV show stuff.
The cameraman was feeling something.
Mm-hmm. Well,
say the words!
The thing is, I'll finish that little anecdote.
Yeah,
the feeling didn't subside until she was farther away from the house. But you're right. I mean, we had a show, not you and I, but like the team that we work with here at Rooster Teeth had a show temporarily there called Haunter, available for first members, roosterteeth.com, go check it out, where we would go places and actually do ghost investigations. I was lucky enough to join 2 of those. Very interesting stuff, but one of the ones, a very close friend of ours, Jeremy Dooley, had an experience where underneath his shirt and underneath his vest, which is clipped on and everything, he had 3 very clear scratch marks. And so on one hand, you have something that's very like, what is that? This is crazy. But then you don't know if this is authentic action, because then it becomes contagious. Suddenly the entire crew was wanting to leave the scenes. They were hearing voices. They felt themselves were being impacted.
Yeah.
So everyone wanted to flee. So it could be what's happening here, because that feels very familiar.
Yeah. And the crazy thing is, Jeremy he wouldn't lie about something like that.
No.
So the theory,
He's very practical.
The theory is that, he has a ton of cats. The theory is he might have just gotten scratched or just
and then he didn't feel the sting until maybe he
sweated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Jeremy's not the person that'd be like, oh, I'm just gonna make this up.
Right.
Yeah. And it was definitely you guys went out and you guys were just if it happens, it happens. We're not gonna make anything up.
Mm-hmm. No, we went out with the idea of, let's explore the stories of this place.
Mm-hmm.
Let's use the proper tools to explore and kind of, if you will, antagonize to kind of stir up any activity. But if nothing happens, we're not going to shy away from that. We'll try to debunk it based on what went down. In some places, much more active than others. Some places had things that we just simply couldn't answer. It's wild. So if that is up your alley, I encourage you to go check it out on roosterteeth.com, like I said. But I digress. The point is, you're right to be thinking that. It's totally possible. But now, after which is traditional after a haunt, is to kind of regard the footage, look over it, and see if anything was captured on tape that you couldn't see with your own eye. And so after watching all this footage, the TV crew concluded that the peculiar streaks of light and the face formations that they were seeing in the mirror could not have possibly been manipulated or staged in any way, that they must have been authentic. And 2 weeks after this visit, Steve began having excruciating headaches and experienced actually swelling in his head. So he went to the hospital, got some CAT scans, but doctors found no bruises, no cuts, no source for what could have prompted this pain.
Maybe it was a punishment.
Could have been a punishment. Also, in the vein of asking questions, is this psychosomatic? Is this something that's caused by your deep belief now?
Mm-hmm.
You just had a TV crew come and validate everything you've got going on.
Yeah.
Does that perpetuate maybe something that isn't there?
Yeah, same the theory of if you think you're getting sick and then you get sick.
Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I mean, again, to reiterate, this is known as one of the most haunted hauntedest, one of the most haunted places in the world.
That's
So,
insane. And it took us over 100 episodes to get here.
Yeah. So anyway, he goes to the doctor, doesn't really figure out what's going on there. And the Lees, of course, believe that it's the spirits in the home that were responsible for Steve's pain because there really isn't any other answer here. 6 months after their initial visit, the Lees contacted yet another psychic, this time Peter James, to come, and he gave his 2 cents. Inside the house, James felt multiple presences and also called out to them in order to get their identities. He's basically asking these spirits to identify themselves. He described the feeling that someone had their arms wrapped around his legs when he was in the house. And he was also drawn up to the same bedroom that Bodine had identified to be a hot spot, where he then smelled the very same chemical smell that the families did all those months prior and had expressed concerns about. In fact, this chemical smell led him to potentially a very specific spirit. Before we move on, this spirit is kind of in the veins of the first theory.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Questions. Was this psychic like a TV personality?
I don't believe this person was a TV personality. But I would be curious to know if they were well known or just kind of more local.
And then secondly, I'm assuming the episode aired by this point.
6 months. It's possible.
Possible.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it'd be very interesting. There's a big difference between like the psychic has gone there without watching that episode, or like this episode already aired and then went there.
And either airing or not, the question is natural to ask, which is, does he know what went down?
Yeah.
So, or does he know nothing? Because if he knows nothing and he finds the same spots,
crazy.
That's wild.
That's pretty crazy.
Christian, I don't know if that's something that's
I don't know how you'd even
diagnostic or not diagnostic, figure outable.
I don't know if he already knew about the house, but I can say that he was another TV psychic. He actually has appeared on Sightings, the TV show Sightings as well.
Oh, okay.
And then has worked on a couple other things like the Ghost Encounter special.
So regardless of airing, he could be another connection to the previous psychic. So she might have been like, hey, if you want a second opinion, I know somebody. And who's to say, them being coworkers.
A little bit of information. I felt it mostly in the bedroom.
Right. Like, you should pay particular attention to that bedroom upstairs.
Yeah.
And then he goes, I'm feeling something. Yeah, I don't want to be too cynical, but that's one of the things I want to do on this show is like, here's the story, but also here's just our natural thoughts.
That's just natural questions.
Yeah.
And then what happened? We uncovered that like they have guest appeared on that show. So it's like, okay, well, there's a deeper connection there. So
right. But I'm very happy you brought up the question of, did anybody else smell these chemicals? Because this is what is really going to lead us into the first theory. Because finally, regardless of him knowing about things or not, he smells the chemicals and he is trying to find the source of them. And this is what leads to theory number 1. So let's talk about it. A nice little ad break just to give you pause between all the spooky scaries because we are in the midst of the spooky forest month. I hope you guys have been enjoying these as much as we have because, man, there are more forests in the world than you can expect, and basically all of them are haunted. We're just trying to take your normal world and turn it upside down and make it all spooky scary. And before, by the way, we get into the ads that I want to talk about, I want to share some love to the crime scene queens because they're friends of ours, and so I want to speak a little bit about their show. So Crime Scene Queens is a new comedic true crime podcast from Q Code. If you like what we do here on Red Web, we have a little bit of that true crime, unsolved mystery flavor mixed in with the comedy. I think you're going to love what they're putting down over there. Hosts and forensic experts Laura and Shelley are ready to address fallacies and give you a look behind the curtain of what it's really like working as a CSI. Instead of focusing on the who, this show dives into the science behind our true crime obsession. Expect unfiltered, fact-based banters about stories from the field as Laura and Shelley debunk what TV has taught us about forensics. So go ahead and follow the Crime Scene Queens on your favorite podcast player today to equip yourself with some little-known forensic facts to impress or perhaps gross out your friends and curb that CSI effect. Now, with that said, I want to talk about some of Red Web's fantastic sponsors for today. This episode of Red Web is sponsored by BetterHelp. How well would you take care of your car if you knew you had to take care of that same one your entire life? Well, that's exactly how our brains work, so why don't we give them the same level of care? How we care for our minds affects how we experience life, so it's important to invest time and energy into keeping them healthy. There are plenty of ways to support brain health, such as learning a new language or taking power naps, but there's also BetterHelp Online Therapy. BetterHelp is customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you're shy or bashful or anything like that. It's much more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can be matched with a therapist in under 48 hours. Task Force, if you're interested, you can get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/redweb. That's betterhelp.com/redweb. This episode of Red Web is also sponsored by Shady Rays. Shady Rays has the essentials you need to make summer complete. Shady Rays sunglasses offer an industry-best combination of fit, style, and performance without all that big brand price taggage. You know what I'm talking about? It doesn't stop at the quality either. Shady Rays offers the most insane protection program in all of eyewear. Every pair is backed by lost and broken replacements. If you lose a pair or you break a pair, even on day one, they will send you a brand new pair. That's pretty awesome. I'm going completely off the ad read now. That is tremendous. They also provide 10 meals to fight hunger in America with every order and have donated over 20 million meals to date. Look good in your shades and feel good by making an impact. If you don't love them, exchange them for a new pair or simply return them for free within 30 days. There's no risk when you shop with Shady Rays. Their team always has your back. Exclusively for Task Force members, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season, and you can go to shadyrays.com and use promo code REDWEB for 50% off 2 or more pairs of polarized sunglasses. So you can try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 200,000 people. To reiterate, that is shadyrays.com with promo code REDWEB. 50% off 2 or more pairs. Look good in the summertime. And with that said, let's dive right back into the mystery. These spirits could be a visit from a late family friend. So during James's visit, the second psychic, he sat down with the couple and asked them a name. He asked if the name Howard had any significance to them. Steve was immediately stunned to hear this name and claimed, quote, "That's so personal between us. It's unreal. There's no possible way on God's earth he could have known that one," end quote. Essentially, the Lees had a family friend named Howard, whose son, Howard Jr., passed away in the 60s. James also asked if there was anyone nearby who also happened to be a pharmacist. So these are some very peculiar questions, very specific questions that James is getting into. But here we go. So James said Howard returned to tell his family that he had not died of an overdose as they had originally thought, but instead he was actually murdered. Howard Jr.'s best friend's father, so Howard Jr., his best friend's father, was a pharmacist. Howard Jr. and the best friend would often steal prescriptions, which led to the conclusion that he must have overdosed. But again, Peter James is coming through and saying, no, the spirit is telling me that this was actually a murder. So James asked the couple if they had ever felt like Howard was trying to protect them, and the Lees both said yes and became very overwhelmed and needed a break from this line of questioning. Ultimately, James believed Howard was there to protect the Lees from a potential vortex that held evil spirits. And the connection to that chemical smell was that Howard Jr., Christian, right? That Howard Jr. had imbibed these prescriptions that he stole with his best friend, and that from the great beyond, essentially, that the ghost was emanating these. Is that kind of loosely what he was indicating?
Yeah, I think
smell?
that's... Once again, it's never explicitly stated, at least from what we could see, but that's kind of the implication that we're drawing is, the smell is related to the medicine that Howard Jr. and his friend had.
Look,
that's the connection we're trying to make, but that's...
Look.
That's what he's trying to make.
That was a lot of info thrown at me. And actually, you distilled it into a very delicious sippy cup in which I understood all of it.
Some knowledge pouring out of that cup then.
That being said... Get the hell out of here.
You thinking this guy's a bozo? You thinking he's a Looney Tunes?
What? That's where the source, that's, I guess, like a theory of where the source of the smell came from was the damn, chemicals
that Howard Jr. had come back to
the
protect this family from a vortex that housed evil spirits. He's making some wild faces.
It does get weirder the more we say it.
It was like a flip book of
insane.
emotion that I just witnessed.
This is the smells of like the chemicals and medication.
I would wonder if it smelled like embalming fluid or something, a little bit more on the nose, or
Right.
But who knows what the afterlife smells like, you know? I watched a video about a man from the ISS, the International Space Station. He was like, this is what space smells like.
Oh.
You know? Like some things have
Pretty
smells and we just don't know, and it's curious.
Yeah, it's just wild that he's able to create a smell. Just nuts.
Let me tell you this.
So
if you
there's
ever get a
this-
phantom whiff of something, you know, putrid, sulfur-like, and I'm not around this earthly plane, just know I'm haunting you. No, but like that, I mean, it's interesting, you know?
I mean, it's very intricate. It's very interesting.
It's a haunting on a level that you don't hear about often. And so this is an answer on a level that you
it's
don't
quite
hear
unique.
about often, you know?
It's also just like, whoa.
No, yeah, for sure.
No, like it is very, very unique and entertaining. It
is entertaining.
Like, if I take a step back, I'm engulfed in it right now, and I'm like really entranced by the story. But just taking a half step back, going, "Come on!" The last part, going, "What?" the medic. Okay,
but yeah, that is Psychic Peter James's kind of attachment now to what's going on. But I think what's most interesting is his questioning about a Howard and about a local pharmacist. Now, you know, if you've ever gone to a show around a mentalist or one of those people that are really good at reading body language or
Right.
getting you to think, like even crossing over with John Edwards, where he's like throwing out vague statements and then eventually he lands on a name.
how hard was he prying?
How hard was he prying, and what were the questions leading? Or did he just name drop Howard out of nowhere? Or did he start going, I'm feeling like an H, or like I'm getting a huh sound or something? And they're like, oh my God, Howard, you know,
Yeah.
and they fill in the gaps. That, you know, that is a common trick, a common swindle in this arena.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's hard to pin too much, you know, belief on that part, but it is interesting. It is interesting. So let's now expand on the next theory, which again stems from James and his discussion around the vortex, because James determined that the closet in the Lee's bedroom was some kind of vortex to another dimension. This vortex was believed to be the entrance point for faces appearing in the old mirror in their house. It could be why that bedroom was a hot spot.
I mean, I didn't think that we'd get a whole description or much more of a plot at this point for the vortex.
Yeah.
So now we're on the ride of like the vortex to another dimension.
Right. Well, hey, listen, the multiverse wasn't real until it was, right?
That's true.
Or in theory, right?
This psychic is weaving such a tale right now.
That or he's the next Einstein and
True.
we just don't know.
I mean,
it.
I'm along for the ride, but it's just like, okay, the vortex is in the closet.
Right. He said it's literally in the closet.
That's what you told me.
Listen, if
Chris is
Like I said,
laughing
every time you say it, I just go,
Here's the thing. If you build a house, the odds are that this perfect little closet snipes the origin hole of the vortex. Like the vortex is going to be like not in a nicely organized spot in the room. It's going to be
like 3/4 on the second floor,
it's halfway
a quarter
through
on the first floor.
Right. And that's where I would say maybe it's popping up through the roof because you got a lot of activity up there.
Oh, that'd be more believable.
And maybe that's why it bleeds into the
Not
room.
to say I don't
and there's
completely
that, you know,
believe it, but I'm just like, it just tucked in nicely into your little IKEA
Right.
cabinet. Like,
yeah.
interesting.
Right.
Okay.
But yeah, so the vortex is said to be in the closet as per Peter James. Now, a shaman from the Hopi tribe came to the house and also determined that it was located on what he called a rainbow vortex. A rainbow vortex is, quote, a gateway between the living and the dead worlds, a place where the laws of physics allow the dead to pass into the living world where the living can connect with the dead. And that comes from Fatima Sajid on dawn.com. But that's the simple answer behind the theory of the vortexes, which is there's a vortex at this house in some way, and it's the origin of all this activity. It's why there's 20 plus ghosts there, but there is one leading entity.
Huh.
Yeah.
I wonder, like, I mean, is that just like a huge anomaly? If it was to be real, like, why haven't we seen other vortexes? Or maybe there are small pockets of vortexes, and that's why there's all these little different haunts.
Mm-hmm. Vortexes are at the center of a lot of different haunts around the world, some small, some large. Also at the center of things like the Bermuda Triangle, where just odd things are happening, messing with technology, as we've seen with this house, the lights flickering and stuff. And so in the scope of this show, it feels kind of like an out-of-the-box theory.
Yeah.
But in the world of the paranormal, it is a commonly thought of idea,
Right.
because if there is an afterlife in whatever shape and form it comes in, then it is believed then there must be some way to cross over from here to there. Why not back and forth from there to here?
Say we had enough funding, like the
And
task,
we definitely don't, but we can get another loan.
Right. The task force went over to the merch site and they clicked on the, like, I would like notify me when this sold out baby hand plushie is back in stock. We sold a bajillion of those. We now have a TV show where we can travel,
make a bigger plush,
make a we could travel. Would you willingly do an episode
here
to go across the Bermuda Triangle?
Oh, so listen. Let me tell you about Lil Trey. Okay, Lil Me.
Okay, Lil Trey.
There's a reason why this is like one of my little passion projects. I love this podcast because I love the unknown. Now, going way back to like elementary school, I'd watch all those things about disappearances and like Roanoke and Bermuda Triangle. And I remember saying to one of my classmates very, very vividly, in fact, it was 2000, because they were trying to teach us about modern politics and stuff. So they're like, look, it's George Bush and Al Gore, and they're going at it. And here's the presidential election happening. And I turn to my friend and I go, when I grow up, I'm going to the Bermuda Triangle. I'm going to figure out what's going down there. And if I disappear, you will remember me. And he's like, don't go. It's too dangerous, Trevor. I'm like, I know. That's why I have to.
That's wild. And Trevor was talking to himself in the mirror.
Yeah. Pan out. There's no one in the class. It's actually yesterday. No, but that's a true story.
So Trevor's a yes.
Absolutely.
Christian?
It's like we did an episode on the Bermuda Triangle, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things was it's likely just coincidences all compounding. But at the same time, it's like, I know it should be fine. But at the same time, I don't know if I want to risk it.
Right. Why tempt fate?
Right.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to risk it.
But like, put yourself in those shoes. You're on a dock, right? And this is the episode for the
and
Red
they're
Web
really cozy
TV
boat
show.
shoes too.
Yeah, really cozy.
Yeah.
But you're
sweetening
looking
the
at that
deal.
boat, and that boat's going to go down deep into the ocean to cross the Bermuda Triangle. You getting on that boat?
If we're
How about this?
I would be
You're
more
double
likely
strapping
to-
life jackets. So when this thing goes down, you'll be floating fine.
Yeah,
and then you're just floating stranded at sea.
true. That
None of
sucks.
these options are good. I think I'd be
Yeah.
more likely to fly through the Bermuda Triangle than sail.
I think you'd be more likely to crash then, or sink or whatever.
That's true.
Just based on the stories.
Yeah, you guys have fun.
All right. Well, he claimed the man in the chair
Trevor had
role.
fun.
No. We only need one man in the chair.
I will
You
be
know?
on an iPad on a Segway.
Just like the boats are rocking, you're wobbling all over the deck. Like,
it's just Trevor at the front of the ship going, and then I just could like wheel up and we just go, there it is.
I walk into frame, you roll into frame on an iPad, 2-dimensional is all get out. Yeah.
Sorry, this is an honest question. Would we ever do something like if we had the opportunity,
man,
would you
I feel
actually
like
do that?
And you're a no? You wouldn't go?
Oh, hell no.
Oh, come on.
Hell no.
Okay.
Hell no.
Well, I saw a TikTok the other day that like really gives me pause, because it was, I don't know, it's just some guy on like this small yacht or a big boat, whichever way. And the thing is sinking. He gets off. His whole crew or all of his friends are hopping in this life raft. And you see this thing go down, and eventually he's looking at it 10 feet under him as it's continuing to sink. And it's just like, there's something so haunting about seeing a boat sink into an infinite abyss
Yeah.
where you have miles below you.
Ugh.
Like, that's the part that I would hate the most.
Ugh.
It's like, it's the opposite of claustrophobia. I know for the ocean, it's like thalassophobia or something.
Thalassophobia.
But when it's the same thing we talked about last Halloween, when I had my back to a long, dark hallway, like that kind of stuff. I hate that.
Oh yeah, when we went
Hate
to Yorktown Memorial.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we did a live haunt. We did it was a video. We did a haunt on location. Not to keep this tangent going for too much longer, but are there tours to the Bermuda Triangle?
I have to imagine, just like little
I
cruises.
mean, at least like going up to, maybe, right? But like, can you actually book a tour to go through the Bermuda Triangle?
It looks like it. It looks like they even offer Bermuda Triangle cruises.
It's just, you're going to go see Bermuda and that's it. But I mean, I feel like many people that are listening to this podcast that have ever flown to Florida have probably flown through it without realizing it.
Oh.
Because it goes right up the coast of eastern Florida, or at least a little bit of it.
Well, there. Congratulations. A ton of you guys survived.
Let's talk about another theory. Similar to the vortexes, this time it's a time-space warp. So
Sure.
Gary Hart, well, discredit this man, all right? Gary Hart, a hyperdimensionalist studies expert, hypothesized that the Lee's property might have been the location of a time-space warp. A time-space warp would allow beings to travel between worlds and time. Hart says that these are more likely at locations where paranormal phenomena are visible, such as orbs and lights caught by the eye and camera that were seen there at the Lee property. Now, this is a very specific version of a broad theory, which is that ghosts are actually impressions left through time, or
That's so cool.
where our time stream has kind of bent back on itself and inadvertently just crossed itself. And so you see residual energies of what is like two presences or two present times communicating essentially.
Oh, love that.
I think it's really cool, especially since I love just kind of trying to conceive of the fourth dimension and how we move through it. And in that way, like it's in theory, very, very interesting and very possible.
It's a cool theory because, I mean, you could also attach it to not just hauntings, but just, I don't know, all kinds of different things.
Space-time relativity, like all
Right.
that good stuff.
With that said, how unfortunate.
Mm-hmm.
I was like the one spot, probably one of the very few spots in the entire world you just so happen to buy a house on.
Yeah. Now, before we go to the next one, I mean, you kind of give me an idea, right? Or a thought is, so the last theory we're going to talk about, as usual with a theory like, or with a mystery like this, is that it's a hoax. But before we get into that, you know, it is interesting that out of all this forest area, that this one house happens to be the hotspot. It seems kind of coincidental, but I would wager, you know, as somebody who has an open mind to these kind of things, like if there are many presences in this forest, that they might be attracted by what would otherwise be an anomaly in the woods, a blip on the radar. This house is a hotbed of electricity to feed off of human activity and of technology and whatnot. And so maybe it was an attractor like moths to a flame, bringing spirits from the greater forest area from many eons, from historical America and from before all the way up to
Different
today.
time periods and just, complete, like you said, hotbed. And who's to say, like, you dig deep underground as a bed of quartz or something like that, and that's a catalyst for all of these either paranormal activities or for all the weird electrical things that are happening.
100%.
Like, yeah.
I'd love to go to this place and just excavate that ground.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Get that quartz. You just find there's just one giant quartz under there.
No, the most haunted place in the world. What the heck? Are you kidding me? If there was ever anything to happen, it'd be at this place.
I mean, you're not wrong. And the fact that like the footage, the pictures, all that stuff is from the early 90s gives that like that Texas Chainsaw Massacre mixed with paranormal activity vibes. Like that's what that is.
Where's I mean, is this house still there? Is it still active?
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised.
Don't know.
I swear on everything, Task Force. If you guys try and if I find out after this episode that the restock demand for baby hands has gone through the roof, you guys are sick. I mean, just sick. And stop it. Get some help.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I'll dive into that real quick because baby hands sold out.
Yeah.
And now baby hands ain't coming back.
No.
But I want to break the system because the only way we know to bring it back is if the people that missed out do sign up for it. So store.roosterteeth.com, go to the baby hands thing. Oh, sold out. There's a little button in there. Click it. We'll sign you up with your email so you'll be notified if it comes back. But the more people that sign up, the more we know to get and we can actually bring it back. That's one thing. Like you guys always come out, you support, you sell the stuff out, and that's awesome. But then we go, well, should we get more? And then the business people, I gesture broadly to the non-task force members, go, well, business reasons and business. And I go,
business.
task force, we need signups.
People want it, and so yeah, sign up for it.
So let us know. I don't know if you want Baby Hands to come back. Let us know. Otherwise, we're gonna keep chipping away.
Seal him in the red web vault.
He'll go in the red web vault, and he won't come back out for 20 years.
Yeah, for 20 years.
We'll trickle him out once a new medium of content comes out, just like Disney with the VHS tapes. But we're working on some stuff. Sippy cup of knowledge, perhaps. Maybe a squonk plush or something.
Absolutely. Oh, squonk plush. If there was to be a sippy cup, that's just too much power. That's all I gotta say. Just too much
Task Force is asking for it.
Just too. What do you mean?
You put it out there. Now they're parched, dude.
You have given me
they got dry lips. They're trying to drink from some knowledge cup. Like it's
me too much power.
All right.
I will say in regards to whether or not the house is still here, I'm not finding anything that says the house was destroyed or taken down or anything. And I'm seeing what looks like modern pictures of the house. So I think. Once again, I don't really know.
All right, we'll be there in person to check it out sometime. Because we'll step on those grounds. Okay, we'll get some Segway wheels rolling across that with an iPad.
I'm just saying. Look at it from the POV of a Segway. Seems pretty safe.
I like you up in the air in like an A150 or something. You're like, yeah, I'm up here in the air. Everything's looking really good from altitude, about 2 miles up.
That's great. I'm gonna circle back. I'll be flying over again in 2 hours. But I just like where are all the modern like TV shows or modern video footage or whatnot, like that's you think of that,
Task
like
Force,
the most haunted place. Task Force, don't go there.
Let's roll out together.
Don't do it. But
meet up at the Lee house,
That's a yearly meetup at the most haunted house in the entire planet. But yeah, I mean, like, where's all the modern day stuff?
Yeah. Like, did suddenly the activity just die off? Was this portal closed? Like,
true.
But that leads me very nicely into the final theory we're going to talk about. Was this a hoax? So, Colorado, especially for our international task force, it's known as a hotspot for haunted sites. Many hotels, parks, mansions, and even haunted prisons reside in Colorado.
There's even a haunted road.
Maybe do you think there's any haunted bugs? It doesn't matter. Important questions aside, it's always possible that the Lee family utilized this idea of Colorado's haunted legacy and the eerie name of the Black Forest itself to their advantage, gaining media attention, getting themselves on TV, and even getting themselves featured on primetime television, which again, as I mentioned, pin it, because it harkens back to the idea, like, were they doing this for attention, right? We talked about that at the very top.
Yeah, I feel like if this was to happen to me, I would do as much as I can for it not to be on media, and then if I'm not getting any answers, then turn to media. But then also, like, I would try and be just for the sake of like privacy, but also just be like, look, I'm not trying to like jump on any talk shows or episodes of a ghost show or whatever. I'm just trying to get the word out there that this place is unexplained. Like, if you're a professional in this field, we would love your help to try and like explain what's going on here.
Yeah.
I would use media as a catalyst to reach to other professionals.
As a catalyst for attention, in the sense of the more attention you get, the more experts might come your way to diagnose what's happening. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And honestly, again, by the apparent anonymity of this family, it seems like that might have actually been the road that they took.
True.
Hoaxing is always on the table when it comes to ghosts.
Always. Anything.
But man, if this story doesn't hit a couple of unique chords, I really enjoy it. If nothing else, as an entertaining idea of what, the afterlife and what spirituality and ghosts might be like. I don't know.
As crazy as some of this story has been, it's a little nerve-wracking.
Right.
When it comes to that
you don't want to see those faces.
With that many haunts, different people experiencing things from like the family to the authorities to experts. And then on top of that, like, how we love our tangible evidence or like just tangible material, the pictures.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's faces in one of those.
Oof.
Like, hey, I mean, if fake or not, like that is, oof.
I honestly feel like those are...
That's shaking right now.
I mean, I've seen pictures where they're like, this is a face. This is a person.
I guess I can kind of see it. Like, no.
Yeah.
There's like, their eyes are just white and you can see like the the structure of the face and just
You can even see like there's like a old timey mustache kind of into the cheek mutton chop sort of situation, right? Like,
yeah.
and then an elderly woman kind of next to that. Like, I've seen pictures where they're like, this is a face, this is a hand, this is whatever. That is very clearly, it looks so clearly like what they're claiming.
If I set up a camera and that's what I got back, I would be rattled to my core.
Oh yeah,
I'll be honest, I might just die on the spot. I mean, serious.
That's that sinking feeling. Your heart just sinks and
Like,
your adrenaline kicks and you're just like, oh my
panic
God.
attack completely.
Yeah.
That's in my home. Like,
Yeah.
What do I do?
Well, we'll see if we can find those faces when we go
Believe
sometime.
me.
You know, we'll set up a sleep app and see if what we get in the night.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll put up some motion cameras, some night visions. We'll power down that iPad, make sure you rest.
Make sure I'm fully charged.
But yeah.
I do think it's interesting, just entertaining the hoax angle when you look at the mirror photo, that the rest of the mirror, excluding the section where the faces are, the rest of the mirror is a different shade from the flash on the camera.
Yeah.
I do think that's curious.
Oh,
It's only
right. Like
that
the
little
dark
portion
spot that they're
that's
in.
like darker, like dark enough for them to be
part is
visible.
where the faces
It's
are.
only that portion.
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah.
very interesting.
It's low quality enough that it's hard to say, but it's like, is that some sort of blooming from the light? Because you do see some light rays. There's circular like blotches around the light. So is that some lens flaring action? But you're right. I mean, where those faces are is particularly dark. But you have to remember, photo manipulation was not as advanced,
Was not.
but wasn't impossible.
Here's the thing.
Certainly
when
not.
did T2 come out?
That's the question. Because that will make or break this whole case.
I mean, technology-wise,
Hold
T2
on.
was really pushing it.
T2, July 3rd, 1991.
Oh, this haunt was proof. The precursor to the movie T2. There you have it, folks.
Just saying,
Blew
the
the case wide
technology
open.
was there.
Yeah,
Might not be
absolutely.
in public's hands, but it was there.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I don't know how we're going to title this one, but this is week 3 of our creepy, eerie forest mystery spree here in August. Next week, one final forest that we're going to talk about in August here. But yeah, very eerie haunt. If nothing else, a very interesting story to kind of dissect.
That was a fun ride.
Oh yeah. And you gave me way too many hypotheticals to think about. You got me all out of my pants, like scared now, thinking about like, well, what if you did this? And what if you were there? And what if you woke up and this was in your mirror? Like, none of it.
What if you were in the house on a boat in the Bermuda Triangle?
And that mirror was there. But with that said, Fredo, I'll see you right back here for a very interesting finale to the Forest Month.
Oh God, if this was the 3rd episode, what's the 4th?